about wisdom, ready to come get some. If you wanna know more, people just listen.
So tonight, the topic, if you haven't seen it, we're talking about reestablishing fatherhood. Reestablishing fatherhood. There has been a very serious and, all out attack, really, I believe, in society, in pop culture, in our world, when we look around today on not only, well, I'll say the male, the man, but then in turn or indirectly, it has affected fatherhood. It has affected fathers. And there has been a redefining of what being a father is, of what fatherhood is, outside of the way God intended it to be. Anything that we're going to do in this life, anything that we're going to be, anything that we're going to endeavor to do, that we're going to be a part of, if the foundation of it is not found in God, if the roots of it is not founded in God, then it's going to be perverted. It's going to be messed up. It's going to fail ultimately. And so as it pertains to fatherhood, society has tried to redefine that and put their own spin on what a good father is and what fatherhood is. And, it's caused us to be in a dysfunction, to be out of order. The family unit is out of order. And thus we see the effects that it has on society. And it may seem like I'm simply overstating it or trying to make it simple by saying, well, you think all that's going wrong is because fathers are out of place. Well, yeah, that's the foundation. That's the way God set it up, the male, the man. And then ultimately for those who become fathers or who are fathers, if we out of place, then everything is going to be out of place. If fathers are out of place, everything is going to be out of place. So what do I mean when I say reestablishing fatherhood? What are we talking about tonight when I say reestablishing fatherhood? I'm talking about what comes along, the mindset, the actions, the functions that comes along with being a parent. And tonight we're speaking to the father. But there is motherhood, right? And then there is fatherhood. And so you can be a parent. It's possible to be a parent because you can have a child. The anatomy of that, the ability to do that, right, is you mom meet dad, boy meets girl, you have sex and you have children. There's sperm, egg, and you have children. So you can become a parent, but not step into motherhood or fatherhood. When we're speaking of fatherhood, there is a mindset that comes with that. And then there are expressions or attributes or characteristics that must be displayed to say, okay, this is what fatherhood is, or this is fatherhood being displayed. And that extends outside or extends farther than simply saying, okay, well, I'm a parent because I'm able to make babies, able to procreate, reproduce. All right. So we're reestablishing that mindset, that system of fatherhood. It's been redefined. There are misconceptions. There are all kind of crazy things out there that now in today's society, people think fatherhood is. They limit it to money or status and so much more. But we're defining and reestablishing this according to how God intended it to be. Murphy's Law. Let's apply wisdom. Any wisdom that we have, any wisdom that we get, any wisdom that we function in, if it's outside of God's way, if it's outside of God's wisdom, it's not really true wisdom for real. So you can have information, you can get information, you can even get facts even. But godly wisdom is founded in godly truth. And so that's what we're moving in tonight. We're moving in godly truth and we're reestablishing fatherhood. So I'm so excited to have this conversation tonight. All right. So jumping right into it. There are a list of things I'm going to give you tonight that express who a father is or what functioning or moving in fatherhood looks like. Okay? We are going to attempt to get to the totality of it. Okay? It's not just one area, it's not just one facet. It's not just one component, but there are several components that must be seen for us to say, okay, this man or that father is moving in fatherhood. All right? So let's begin with this. Fathers are visionaries. Fathers are visionaries. When you're talking about fatherhood, you're talking about being a visionary. Who is a visionary? A visionary is someone who is able to look to the future and be able to plan towards the future. That's a visionary. A visionary is someone who looks past right now, who looks past this very day or even this week. A visionary looks 6 months down the road, a year, 12 months, 24 months, 36 to the next generation, several generations. So fathers, when you begin to move into fatherhood, you're a visionary. Fathers must be visionaries. We got to cast vision. We have to, for our children, our sons and our daughters, we are responsible for creating a path, for planning ahead. So what does this look like practically? Well, if you are a father and you, of course, you have children, right? So, but if you're a father, you have a son or you have a daughter, you may have both, multiple children. If you have not begun to think about things like I was going to say inheritance, but I don't want to go there yet. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So if you are not thinking about things like this, life insurance, if you for the children, if you're not thinking about possibly college fund, if you're not thinking about, okay, how do I establish my son or my daughter in being excelling at whoever they are, or extending the bloodline or the legacy of the bloodline. What is it? What is the legacy I'm leaving? So we have to be in that mindset. We have to be visionary. And being a visionary is not only, well, I'm planning for the future. There must be some wisdom and some strategy in that. So if you have children, whether they're ready to go to college at that age or not, have you decided, okay, how are we going to pay for schooling? How are we going to handle schooling? How are we going to handle when the first home or first car or so many different things? How are we going to move in these areas? How am I going to strategize and think about preparing and posturing my children, my son, my daughter for the future, for their schooling, for life? Visionaries. And so to be a visionary, right, to be able to plan for the future with wisdom, then you have to have information. You have to have insight. You cannot be void of insight. You can't be void of information. You can't be not, unknowing or clueless. That's the word I'm looking for. You can't be out here clueless. So what does it take to establish some of these things? for example, I'll give an example. I have twin boys who are 8 years old, Caleb and David, who David produced the theme music for Murphy's Law, which you heard tonight at the beginning of our broadcast. But I've already established one type of saving plan concerning schooling or college or furthering their education. I've already established that. They're 8 years old. They're not at they're in third grade. They're beginning third grade in about 7 days. They haven't even gotten to middle school. But as a visionary, I must plan ahead. And I must think about the future. And then not only should I think about the future, but then I have to think about plan A, plan B, and possibly a plan C. Well, this is plan A, but what happens if plan A doesn't work? Here goes plan B. And then what if plan B doesn't really go as planned? Well, here goes plan C. So that's a part of being a visionary, strategizing and having a solution. Fathers are solutionists. That's right. They don't create problems, they create solutions. So I have one, and this is just one type of savings plan that's catered strictly to their schooling. And then I have other things in place financially for my sons outside of schooling. Money for them to do other things or for other things. And then businesses that I own. Who's going to take over the business? How am I going to transfer the business? How am I going to teach them about, okay, this is what this company is about, or these companies that your father owns is about, and this is the direction we're going to take it. And so it's not limited to just sons. I'm speaking to children, whether you have sons or daughters or both. So fathers are visionaries. So if you're a father right now and you want to move and excel in fatherhood, then you must become a visionary. You must stop thinking for only right now, only what satisfies me in this moment or what satisfies us in this moment. We have to think ahead. And that type of strategy may require you to skip maybe 1 or 2 vacations, or instead of doing a really elaborate vacation here where we're spending $10,000, then we may have to adjust that and spend $3,000, because $7,000 has to go towards the future. We have to strategize. So fathers, all the fathers out there, I'm encouraging you to move in what you've been called to be as a father, and that's a visionary. Yep. So fathers are visionaries. I mentioned this word in the very beginning. I talked about wisdom. And any wisdom that we have must be established in godly ways or principles, and it must come from God. That's another thing. Fathers must function from wisdom and in wisdom. That's excelling in fatherhood. Wisdom. And so wisdom is not only from experience. You don't only gain wisdom from experiences that you may go through, but you gain wisdom also from getting information or knowledge or being poured into or being mentored or trained, even as a father yourself, putting yourself in a position to attain wisdom and then move in that wisdom. So listen, for every father out there, which I'm one, it's time for us to elevate from where we've been into being the visionaries that we are and to functioning and flowing in the wisdom that's necessary. Any father who moves or functions foolishly or is led by idioticness, they're going to cause hell for their children, possibly. More than likely, they're going to cause hell for their children and even for generations. Again, a visionary, you're not only thinking about right now, you're not even only thinking about your children, you're thinking about your children's children. You're thinking about generations to come. So if you don't move in wisdom, if you move foolishly, if you act foolishly, you spend money foolishly, you waste your time foolishly, then it's going to impact your sons and daughters and so on and so on to the next generation. So let's take our rightful place, fathers, to be visionaries and then to walk or to move in wisdom. And this wisdom is something that's continuous. It's not a thing where you say, okay, well, I finally arrived. I've attained all the wisdom that there is to attain. As we move through stages of life and different ages, we must continuously be coming into wisdom, functioning from greater levels of wisdom. So it's not a thing where I turn 38 and I'm like, yes, I'm a wise father and I'm good. No, that has to continue. And society don't put a premium on some of these things, but when you look at it from God's perspective and God's way, and when you look at God himself, who is a father, God the Father, then you see these things exemplified. You see these things expressed in his very being, in his very functions. Okay? So we're reestablishing fatherhood. Fathers, number 3, I think I gave you 2 already. Fathers are protectors. And that can seem very, very simple. Oh, I'm going to protect my child. I'm going to protect my daughter. I'm going to protect my son. It's not only speaking of protecting them from physical harm. Protection goes much further than that. So you want to protect your children, fathers. You want to protect your sons and daughters in aspects or in ways that extend past physical harm. Because the truth of the matter is, there may be some things that happen that you're not going to be able to stop. They may break a leg. They may break their arm. That's going to happen. So protection is not only a physical thing. I remember when my sons were younger, and this was one of the first times that they were spending time with me for the weekend, and their mother had gone away somewhere, and they had to get stitches. Bust their chin wide open. But I'm their protector, right? So I give that example to say it's not only limited to protecting their physical body, but you have to protect their emotional and mental well-being. Fathers, this is fatherhood. We're talking about fatherhood. We must protect our sons and daughters' emotional and mental well-being. Well, how do we do that? How do we protect that? How we speak to them, what we give them in terms of attention, or as it pertains to attention, your presence, all of under protection, that comes with affirmation, that comes with time, that comes with instruction. And I'm going to mention some of those things that are sub points to being protectors. Fathers who are absent in their daughter's life. Let's speak about daughters for a moment. It greatly affects negatively. It greatly affects the self-esteem, the self-worth, confidence, and security of a little girl who grows up into becoming a young lady. That's affected when fathers are not present and are not giving what they should give. And you may be present. Let me say this. You may even be present and not give what you should give. There are some fathers who were around. They were around. They were in the house. They were visible, but they didn't give anything else. They didn't give any instruction. They didn't give any affirmation. They didn't provide the protection that they should. They didn't give the security that they should. So it could very well be that you're present but not giving all of what you should give. And when we're speaking of fatherhood, it means that we have the mindset and we have the functions, the movements, and the totality of what our children need. So we're not lacking in any one area, but there's a balance. All right? So you got to protect their emotional, mental well-being. You got to give them security. You have to put them in positions to be confident in who they are. A part of protecting your child's mental and emotional well-being is giving them identity. That's protecting your child. When you give them identity, when you help them to understand who they are, what they're capable of, what they can do, how they should be, how they should speak, all of these pathways are protecting your children. And again, that goes much farther than, a physical, just protecting them physically. All right? So we must be protectors. So we're visionaries. We give them wisdom, or we should walk in wisdom, rather, fathers should. We must be protectors. And it should be more than, a physical protection, but we must protect their mental and emotional well-being. We must raise sons and daughters who are confident in themselves. One of the things that I've experienced in my limited experience with women and females is that women who did not have the proper impartation or the proper type of relationship with their father and that security tend to end up in dysfunctional relationships because they deal with a great sense of rejection and abandonment. And so they search for that acceptance in a man. They search for that acceptance in different types of relationships, different types of men, and even in other areas. And so we have to, when we're moving in fatherhood, when we're moving in fatherhood and excelling in it and moving in mastering fatherhood, then we're providing the security, we're providing the identity, we're providing the direction for our sons and our daughters. And I know on Murphy's Law, you hear that word a lot, identity, and you're going to hear it some more because one of the greatest displeasures or one of the greatest tormenting thoughts that people deal with, humans, male and female, is not knowing who they are, not knowing what they're on the earth to do. They have a lot of money, some of them. They have what some would consider good careers. They have houses. They have many things materialistically or materially, but I don't know. I don't really know who I am, and I really don't know what I should be doing. And those people experience a void and speak of an unfulfillment that's there, that no money can bring, no relationship, no alcohol, no whatever can bring. And so fathers, we are responsible and mandated by God to fill that void, to make sure that that void isn't there, to make sure that that void doesn't show up where I don't know who I am. I don't know what I should do. So this is a part of protecting their emotional and mental well-being. Number 4, fathers are providers, or the next thing I'll go to is fathers are providers. Now, I know that many people would classify or would say, a man who provides is a good father. And they speak monetarily, mostly financially. Well, if he provide financially well, that makes him a good father. Not totally. Because it is possible to be a good provider but not have any wisdom. It is possible to make a lot of money, to provide financial support, but not be a visionary. So giving money while it is important, or providing financially while it is important, it's not the only thing that is not the only thing that should be present. It shouldn't be out of balance. It shouldn't be where, well, you just give the money and then that makes you a good dad. And society would say, well, if he paying his child support, then he's a good dad. And I absolutely disagree with that 100%. You're not a good father. You're not excelling in fatherhood because you pay your child support. It is not only limited to your ability to provide some money. What good is you giving? What good is getting money if I don't know who I am? If I'm insecure? So there needs to be a balance. All of it is important, is what I'm saying. And again, I spoke earlier about this attack on fatherhood in society. One of the greatest ways that I've seen in my research that has put many fathers or many males at a disadvantage in our system in the United States of America is this thing called financial child support. Did you know that in the state of Florida, when a mother who may want to get government assistance, that the government assistance that they are given, if there is a father, if there is even a divorce, but if there's a father, in order for them to get the government assistance, they have to put the father on child support. So again, I'm so against this mindset, this thought of, well, if you pay your child support, you're a good dad. I don't even like that whole system. Does every father do what they should do? No. I'm not saying that at all. There are fathers out there that are not stepping up to the plate, that are not excelling and moving in fatherhood. I get that. But then there are a lot who are, who understand that money is not the only way that I contribute to the development of my child. And so going back to the South Florida, to here in South Florida and many other states, it could put me at a disadvantage when you want to put me on child support because you want to get the government assistance. But then if I don't have the means, maybe for a month or two, or if I hit a rough spot as a father financially and I don't have the money, then now I'm in contempt of court because it's a court order. Paying child support is a court order, and then I can be put in jail. Then now if I get to jail, then now I lose my job. Then now if I lose my job, I'm at a greater disadvantage because now how do I catch up to all this child support that I should be paying or they've ordered me to pay? So I want to encourage anyone who may be listening. You may be watching or you may be listening. I want to encourage you. It's not, consider, mothers, consider, take a moment and consider the position that you are putting a father in, maybe possibly because you are angry or because you are attempting to have money to take advantage, to be vindictive. So consider that. And these are some of the ways in which this establishment of fatherhood, this structure of fatherhood, this system of fatherhood is being attacked. There are many more ways. That's just one example that I wanted to give you tonight. So paying child support, that don't make you a good dad. Having a lot of money and giving money, that don't make you a good dad. Or that don't make you operate at the level you should in fatherhood. Not at all. It's more than money. And the truth of the matter is, sometimes people, and I'm speaking from experience, there may be times where life gets difficult and you don't have the money as a father. You may not have an excess of money. And so we have to find ways to provide and to make sure our children have, but we might not have it in excess for 6 months. For whatever reason, there's several reasons that could cause this to happen. You can lose a job. You can get fired wrongfully. You can get hurt and lose your job. And now the financial stream or income that you had coming in, it's adjusted and you're not getting what you used to get. So sometimes in life you go through down times. There are peaks and there are valleys. And we cannot say because a father or a male is in a low time financially, then all of a sudden he's not a good dad. We cannot do that. We should not do that. All right? And tonight we're focusing on fatherhood. So it's the same the other way around, but I want us to remember that we're focusing on reestablishing fatherhood tonight, okay? Listen, thank you for all your comments. I see your comments down there. Fathers are needed to fill the voids in their children. There's more to being a father than financial support. Absolutely. So you're listening to the Murphy's Law podcast. Law stands for Let's Apply Wisdom. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for listening, those who are listening on the podcast. If you're rewatching on YouTube, hey, how are you? Thank you for taking time to watch this. Share it. Subscribe to it. Okay, and let's continue to apply wisdom. That's what growing and becoming better and progressing in life is all about. All right, so I spoke about the financial provision. Again, there's more to provide more than finances. I can go back to this again. I've said it before, and you'll hear me say it for the rest of my life. I provide instruction. I provide direction. I provide affirmation. There's much more that I provide than financial support. But we should be providers in all these areas. Fathers should be providers in all of these areas that I mentioned, not only one. And if you're a father out there and you are not making a lot of money right now, I want you to understand that you're not worthless. It doesn't even mean that you're not a good father or you don't understand fatherhood. It may be that you're just in a rough time right now. In 2017, in 2016, every single job I had, I lost. I was a musician. I was hired. I was traveling and touring. I was playing for a particular church. Every single job I had that I considered a job, source of income, I lost it. And I'm not talking about I lost it one in January and then 6 months later I lost the other one. It was almost like what happened with Job. For those of you that understand the story of Job, if not, go read it in the Old Testament, the Bible. Go read the book of Job. I literally lost everything at once. Fired. We don't need you anymore. And so I went from having good amount of finance coming in to no amount of finances coming in. And it took me 1 year. I'm not lying. You can ask those who know me. It took me literally 1 year to find a job. 1 year, 12 months. And I'm talking about I look for a job every single day. That was my occupation for a year, trying to find a job. Applying here, applying there, applying to Marshalls and Ross and going to Amazon and for one whole year. And financially, it was a struggle for me. But let me tell you, right now, I don't struggle financially. Thank God. I was able to come through that. And you may be right now listening or even watching, and right now you're going through a tough time financially. It don't mean that you are a bad father, that you're not a good father, that you don't understand fatherhood. It may be the situation or circumstance that you dealt with, that you're dealing with right now. Continue to push. Continue to build. Continue to find a job. Continue to work on your businesses if you have businesses. Continue to work at getting the financial support and establishing yourself that way, but continue to give your children affirmation. Continue to love them. Continue to be there for them. Continue to be a visionary. Even though you may not have all the money right now, you make a plan, you strategize. Continue to move in wisdom. Do all of these things anyway. And if anybody is making you feel like you are less than and you're not worth it because you're not making a lot of money right now, forget what they're talking about. Eventually, you're going to make the money. Eventually, the finances will come. But continue to exemplify all of the other attributes and all of the other expressions that comes with fatherhood. All right? So that's my encouragement to you. I hope it helped you tonight. Fathers, leave an inheritance. You got to leave an inheritance. Not only money, businesses, legacy, how to live, principles to live by. Leave an inheritance. Again, not only money, but businesses, principles. This is how we move. When I'm gone, when I'm not here, this is how you approach this. This is how you pray. This is how you try to attain this, or this is how you move in business. Fathers leave an inheritance. Financially, yes, and more. Fathers display integrity. We're talking about fatherhood, you all. We're reestablishing fatherhood. Fathers display integrity. What does that mean? You're honest. You are the same person, whether you have a lot of money, a little bit of money, you're integral. You're going to do what's right. You're going to say what's right. You're going to move in righteousness, in doing what's right. And you're going to exemplify that to your children. You're going to treat those around you right. You're going to treat their mother good. You're going to treat your wife good if you're married. You're going to treat your parents. You must display integrity. This is another element. This is another phase in fatherhood. Okay? And those are the ones that I'm going to give you tonight because, as I said, I have a very special announcement to make. And so stay tuned for it, okay? So I'm going to run back over the list of what we talked about, reestablishing fatherhood. And this is good for everyone to understand, not just fathers, but everyone. So fathers must be visionaries. All right? Plan for the future, but do it with wisdom, and then have a strategy. And you got to have a plan A. If this derail, plan B. If what happened, okay, plan C. Visionary. Do you have a will? You have a living will and testament. What if something's happened to you tomorrow? This is thinking as a visionary. I have a living will and testament. I have a will. I have set up beneficiaries on several different accounts, investment accounts. I invest in other things, and I have my children as beneficiaries so that down the road they are protected. If anything was to happen to me, they'll be all right. And that's a part of being a visionary. Strategizing. And then you leave instructions in place to make sure that they handle what you leave. If I were to die tomorrow or something happened, I've left instructions in place where they know, okay, this is what's going to happen with this investment. This is how this is going to be used. This is how this business should be run. This music school, this clothing line, this is who's going to do that. This is how you're going to do it. Visionary, strategize, wisdom. So these are some practical things that I'm giving you fathers, or sharing with you fathers, so that you can begin to move and excel as a visionary. Wisdom. Walk in wisdom. Fathers, we cannot be foolish. We cannot be walking around like idiots. We cannot be walking around clueless. We must be walking in wisdom. This is what fatherhood, this is a part of, I should say, what is expressed in fatherhood. We should be protectors. Not only physical, keeping our children from as much physical harm as we could, but we must protect their mental and their emotional well-being, so that we don't have children that are growing up who are not secure, who battle rejection, who battle abandonment and hostility and anger and rage and all these things that come with that, because daddy did not protect the way he should. All right. We should be providers. We should leave an inheritance. And the final thing I said was, we must display integrity. It's about that time where I got to leave you for tonight, and you got to leave me, but we're going to be back together next week, right? We're going to be back next week with our special guest. I'm telling you, it's going to be tremendous. As I go out, I'm such a proud father, or a happy father. My son, you're going to be listening to Murphy's Law, the theme song produced by David Murphy, co-produced by Caleb Murphy. Listen, you all, David wrote all of this. He produced all of this. He did all the music. He did all the lyrics. And so I'm so happy as a father that I am developing sons, right? I'm developing children, and I'm helping to shape their future, right? That's what fatherhood is all about. So I love each and every one of you. This has been Murphy's Law. Let's apply wisdom, and I'll see you next week right here with Dr. T.D. McNutt.
Let's apply wisdom, ready, come get some. If you want to know more, people just